The queen's challenge? The throne room gleamed like a frozen sunrise, all silver edges and cold fire. Hundreds of alien nobles watched from stepped balconies, their eyes narrow and bright. At the center stood a single human in worn field blues, Daniel Cross. He carried himself like a man who had walked through storms and learned silence. Before him towered the alien queen, tall as a pillar, calm as a blade. Her crown rose like living crystal. Her voice rolled like distant thunder. "You rejected my daughter. Why?" the queen demanded, each word striking stone and heart. The court hissed, because no warrior, no scholar, no prince had ever refused. Daniel did not bow. He did not posture. He did not look away. "My answer is simple, but it is not small," he said. A ripple moved through the chamber, fear, anger, curiosity, all in one breath. "Speak, human," the queen said, her gaze heavy enough to bend iron. "I will speak," Daniel answered, "and I will stand as I do." Behind a veil of starlight the princess watched. Unknown to most of the court, Serenier, famed for beauty, feared for pride, hidden like a star at daytime. Daniel remembered their first meeting as clearly as a scar remembers fire. He had been repairing a fusion gate on the frontier. Careful hands, quiet mind. The princess arrived with banners and music, soldiers and scented wind. She offered alliance with words that tasted like orders, not like trust. "Take my hand, and you rise with me," she had said, smiling eyes. Daniel had looked at her offered hand and at the weary settlers, at the cracked water tanks, the bent tools, the children sleeping on engines. "Your hand offers power," he had said then, "but gives nothing of yourself. Power is all that matters," the princess replied, certain as sunrise. "Then I refuse," Daniel said, quiet but firm. Because power is not love, the court would later name it insult. He would always call it honesty. Now, the queen's hall waited for his answer. To bruise the stars, Daniel lifted his chin. Not proud, simply present, immovable as a post. "I rejected a crown because I will not wear a leash," he said. "I rejected beauty because a mask is not a face," he said. "I rejected an alliance because it demanded obedience, not understanding," he said. Murmurs rose like smoke from dry grass, then faded beneath the queen's gaze. "You speak well for a scout and a fixer of machines," she said. "I speak as a human," Daniel replied. "We measure worth by deeds." The queen's eyes narrowed. "A distant storm walking closer. Then prove your words," she said. "By trial, by strength, by wisdom, by loyalty." "I accept," Daniel said, "because the truth cannot hide from fire." The hall exhaled, and the metal floor hummed like a drum. The princess's secret. Night in the palace tasted like cold fruit and old music hut. Serenier walked alone among glass gardens and sleeping fountains. Her reflection followed her like a rumor she could not control. Pride had been her armor since childhood, bright, hard, seamless. But Daniel's refusal struck where armor is only skin with memory. She had wanted victory, not partnership, obedience, not conversation. The frontier had frightened her, the dust, the hunger, the honest eyes. She had offered him a place at her side to avoid standing truly together. When he refused, she felt rage first, then something heavier, a stone named doubt. She had never been told no by someone who wanted nothing in return. Her tutors taught strategy, not humility. Her suitors practiced poetry, not truth. She remembered a settler child tugging Daniel's sleeve, showing a broken pump. He had smiled small and real, set his tools down, and listened. Serenier stood now beneath a sleeping star and listened to her own heart. It sounded like footsteps. Turning back toward a door she had closed, a shadow moved beside the mirror pool. An old attendant with patient hands. "Princess," the attendant whispered, "why do your eyes ask larger questions tonight?" "Because a human spoke small words that carried mountains," Serenier answered. "What words?" the attendant asked, knowing and gentle. "He said power is not love," Serenier breathed, tasting the shape. "And what do you say?" the attendant asked, weaving wisdom with kindness. "I say I do not yet know, and that frightens me." Serenia said, "Then you are ready to learn." The attendant replied, soft as rain. Serenia looked toward the throne hall, where trials wait like winter. If Daniel fell, her pride would be safe, her world unchanged. If Daniel stood, her pride would break, but maybe her world would open. She turned her face to the night and let the mirror pole keep her secret. Human honesty versus alien pride. Morning hammered gold across the city of crystal and wire. Crowds poured toward the arena of measures, their voices a river of sparks. Daniel walked with two guards who looked at him like a knife. He did not blame them. Fear needs a face. Courage needs one too. The stands rose high, humming with nobles, soldiers, workers, children, elders. The queen sat above like a calm storm, crown drinking the sun. The first trial is strength, the herald cried, not of muscle only, but of making. From the sand rose parts, plates, cables. A silent heart of a machine, build a gate that carries light to light. The herald declared, a prince left. He is a wrench boy, let him play. Daniel knelt, hands remembering heat, weight, the language of bolts. He mapped the flow in his head, traced failure before it woke. He bled a knuckle on a stubborn latch and smiled very slightly. An hour later the lattice sang, blue current leaping like a river. The crowd gasped, because the design was simple and strong, like a truth. The queen nodded once. A pebble dropped into a deep lake. The second trial is wisdom, the herald said, was bright as glass. On the sand lay 3 riddles carved into stone and silence. A beast that must be fed without eating, a bridge that grows by crossing, a lock that opens by closing, not opening, a trick of mind. Daniel walked among the stones as if among tired friends. The beast is fire, he said. Feed it wood, and it eats the wood. The bridge is trust, he said. It grows when we walk it together. The lock is a wound, he said. Sometimes it heals when we stop picking. Laughter broke from some, anger from others, stillness from a few. The herald looked to the queen, who looked only at Daniel's face. She saw no triumph there, only a stranger's weathered honesty. The third trial is loyalty, the herald called, and the gates opened. From the shadow came a staged disaster, falling beams, trapped workers, choking smoke. A golden banner also fell, symbol of royal honor, bright and heavy. The court held its breath to see which lifeline the human would choose. Daniel did not hesitate. He ran to the workers first. He lifted a beam with a bar, braced a wall with broken boards. He gave his canteen to a coughing child, counted heads twice. Only then did he look toward the glittering banner, half buried. He wiped his hands and dug it out, then leaned it against the wall. People before symbols, he said, voice rough, shoulders shaking with effort. The arena murmured like a waking sea, argument blooming on every tier. A general stood, angry as a wound. He insults the crown. An old builder answered. He honored it by saving what it stands for. The queen lifted one finger in silence, folded over the crowd. Loyalty measured, she said, neither pleased nor weary, simply exact. Trials of the throne. When the sun leaned west, the court gathered in the smaller hole of ironwood. Shadows fell in long quiet lines across the carved floor. The queen sat without attendants. Only the law sat beside her. Serenier stood behind a lattice, and seen by most, seen by Daniel. He did not look up to her. He looked forward, steady as her. Post, you have past strength. You have past wisdom. You have past loyalty. The queen said, then answer me again. Why did you reject my daughter? Daniel breathed once, as if setting a beam alone on a windy day. Because bonds are not bargains, he said. They are bridges we build from both sides. Because love is not a crown, it is a promise. You keep when no horns are playing. Because I will not accept a hand that does not open its heart. A thin anger sparked across the benches, a thinner admiration too. Serenia's fingers tightened on the lattice, a tremor running down to her throat. She had never been asked to open, only to shine, to command, to be victory. Daniel's words asked her to be true instead, and truth is heavier than gold. The queen rose, and every light in the hall seemed to kneel. You speak as if you teach me my own house, she said, not smiling. I speak as if my hands are sore and still willing, Daniel answered. What would you ask of a princess if not obedience? The queen pressed. I would ask her to walk the bridge with me. Not behind, not ahead, Daniel said. I would ask her to break bread with the hungry before she blesses banners. I would ask her to set down pride long enough to carry a child to clean water. And what would you give? The queen asked, voice softer, a dawn behind. Mountains, my back, my tills, my mistakes, my listening, my name when storms rive, Daniel said. Silence held the room like a careful arm. And broken, steady, alive, Serenia stepped from the lattice then. No veil, no rehearsed smile, only breath. Her eyes found Daniel's, and for once she did not shine like a statue. I offered you a seat beside me because I feared standing alone, she said. I called it alliance to hide that fear from myself, she said. I asked for your obedience because I did not know how to ask for your trust. Daniel bowed his head of fingers with respect without surrender. Then we have both spoken as we are, he said. And that is a beginning. The queen looked from daughter to human, from crown to callous, from law to life. The throne is shaken not by insult, but by truth, she said at last. And truth has stood here today, without armor, she added, almost gently. To the court I say this. Respect is not a gift of fear. It is the harvest of service. To the human I say this. Your refusal was a strike. Your reason is a foundation. To my daughter I say this. Choose not a trophy, choose a partner, or choose the path alone. But choose with open eyes. Sir Enir breathed in, breathed out, like someone who had finally set down a heavy box. Then I choose to learn before I claim, she said, voice clear. Daniel nodded once, a builder agreeing to the first line, on clean ground. The queen lifted her hand, and the whole bowed like grass under honest rain. Outside, the city rang with evening bells, metal speaking to sky. Inside, a new map unfolded that needed no banners, only to steady hands. And the courage to walk a bridge built from both sides. Asterisk the palace gardens lay quiet under silver moons. Sir Lennier walked slowly among the glowing trees, her gown whispering against the stone pots. The nobles had left the trial hall hours ago. Yet her mind replayed every word. Daniel's voice still rang inside her, sharp and simple, cutting through years of pride. She had been raised to believe beauty was enough, that titles were enough. But his rejection had burned those illusions to ash. At first she had hated him, then doubted him, and now she could not ignore him. She found him near the lower hangers, repairing a drone with calm patience. His hands moved steady, his eyes focused, his silence louder than speeches. Why did you refuse me? She asked again, this time not as a demand, but as a plea. Daniel did not look up at first, only tightened a bolt and set down his tool. Because you did not choose me as a man, he said quietly. You tried to claim me as a trophy. Serenia's chest tightened, her throat heavy with truth. She had never heard anyone speak to her that way, without fear, without flattery. I am not a trophy, she whispered, half to him, half to herself. Then stop offering yourself like one, he replied, not unkindly. She looked at him, eyes trembling with something new humility. For nights, she watched him from a distance. He spoke little, but every action painted his character more than words could. He helped workers carry supplies when no nobles were watching. He shared his food with servants who thought themselves invisible. He treated machines with the same care he treated people, steady, patient, never careless. Serenier began to see what he meant when he said deeds. It was not power that gave him strength, but choice, and choice, she realized, was something she had rarely made freely. When the queen summoned Daniel again, the court was crowded. Nobles leaned forward. Soldiers stood ready. Attendants waited with cold faces. The queen's voice rolled through the hole like iron. You have passed my trials, human, but I will ask once more. Why did you reject my daughter? Daniel stood tall, his uniform plain against the silks and jewels around him. His answer was the same as before, but now it carried weight from his deeds. Because love cannot be commanded, it must be chosen, he said firmly. Gasps echoed. Some nobles angry, others strangely moved. Serenia stood hidden behind the lattice again. But this time her heart pounded not with shame, but with pride. The queen's gaze sharpened like a blade. And if my daughter chooses you now, what then? She asked. Then it is her choice, not mine, not yours, not prophecies, Daniel replied. The silence that followed was heavy. A silence that reached every corner of the hall. Some aliens shook their heads in disbelief. Others lowered their eyes in thought. Serenia could no longer stay hidden. She stepped forward into the open light, her veil gone, her voice steady. I once offered you my hand as a command, she said to Daniel. I now offer it as a question. Will you walk with me? Not as my servant, not as my prize, but as my equal. The hall trembled with whispers, nobles gasping, soldiers shifting uneasily. Never before had a princess spoken so plainly, so humbly. Before her court, Daniel looked at her, his eyes steady, his voice low. If you mean it, then yes, I will walk with you, he said, not as a bow, not as a declaration, simply as a promise. Serenia felt something break inside her, a wall she had built from pride and fear. What replaced it was lighter, fragile, but real. The queen watched them both, her expression unreadable. For a long moment, the hall waited, breath held, hearts pounding. Then the queen rose from her throne, her crown glowing like dawn. The throne is not shaken by obedience, but by truth, she declared. This human has spoken it, my daughter has heard it, and today this court will remember it. She turned her gaze across the nobles, her voice like iron and fire. Respect is not earned by fear. It is earned by service, by honesty, by sacrifice. Her words cut through centuries of tradition, leaving silence in their wake. The generals shifted uneasily, the nobles whispered, but none dared to speak against her, for in that moment, even they felt the weight of Daniel's defiance and Serena's change. The queen looked to her daughter one last time. Choose your path with open eyes, she said, for the throne is heavy, but it need not be lonely. Serenia bowed her head, tears in her eyes. I will walk it with truth, she whispered, not pride alone. Daniel and Serenia stood side by side in the throne hall. The nobles stared in disbelief, the soldiers in quiet respect. The story spread beyond the palace walls. Whispers carried through markets, through outposts, through starships. A human had stood against an alien throne with nothing but honesty, and a princess had chosen to listen, not command. Together they had shaken an empire built on fear. Serenia turned to Daniel, her voice soft but sure. You rejected me once, and it broke me, she said. But now I thank you, because you gave me back myself. Daniel's lips curved into the smallest of smiles. And now you are someone worth walking beside, he said. The queen looked on, proud but silent, for even she knew the truth. This human's reply had changed more than her throne. It had changed her daughter, her court, and perhaps her empire. And across the stars, a new legend began to spread, not of a war, not of a battle, but of a single reply. The day a human stood before an alien queen and said no. The day honesty shook a throne and built something stronger in its place. For humans bow to no crown, no prophecy, no fear. They bow only to truth and to the choices that make them free.